good afternoon and welcome to our second section of today's event. So this second section we'll be talking about collaboration is at the heart of e-commerce logistics. So I would like to invite first Mr. Pravin Shetty, Regional Logistics Manager of ISS Global Forwarding Company Limited, onto the stage. Please welcome, big round of applause to Mr. Shetty. Thank you for joining us today. And also joining us via online will be Mr. Behzad Goudarzian, Logistics Manager of ISS Global Forwarding Company Limited. Welcome. Hello there.
Hello. Thank you.
Okay, signal's okay? So I'll pass the stage on to you then. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Sawadi, Thailand. My name is Pravin Shetty. I am the Regional IT Manager for the company ISS Global Forwarding based out of UAE. I'm joined with my colleague Behzad Goudarzian, who's the Logistics Manager, Contract Logistics Head for UAE. And my company is part of the ICD group, which is owned by the government of Dubai. And we just completed 4 years as of yesterday. So what we'll cover is, like, my part would be basically to cover the IT side, the technology side of the whole e-commerce collaboration. And my colleague Behzad will do the operation side of it, like to see what we can do on the collaboration side. Over to you, Behzad.
Yes, okay. Pravin, is my presentation visible?
Not yet.
Yeah, just hold on.
It is on the... No, not yet. Sorry. Yeah, it's okay now.
Yeah, okay. So, hello everyone, and it's an honor to have your time to discuss about e-commerce. Without wasting any time, I will jump to the main subject that we have been invited to. So, I've somehow categorized my speech into 4 levels or 5 levels. The last 2 points Pravin will walk you through, but mainly I will talk about e-commerce and the global and regional landscape. So we all know that e-commerce is very popular nowadays, but it's always good to back up our argument and a statement using facts and figures, right? And then on the second part, I will talk about collaboration and how important it is in the e-commerce logistics. And then we go through a showcase of what initiative has been took by Dubai Customs as an example that could be implemented in other countries as well. So just some basic figures, right? So why e-commerce is such a interesting product to look at from a logistician point of view, right? So if you look at 2017 until now, the gray bar represents the retail sales, global retail sales, and the momentum of that such market, while the orange bar shows the inner share or conversion of that classic retail to e-tail, as we call it, or electronic commerce, right? As you can see, 2017, it has only 10% of the global trade, while in 2022, so far, it has almost 20% of the share. So it's been a massive conversion from a classic retail through e-tailing and e-commerce, right? Another graph that I wanted to share with you guys is that out of 25.5 trillion in the year 2019, it was almost 14% of that was dedicated to e-commerce, okay? While if we compare the same scope to year 2022, the retail as a whole, as a globe, has a CAGR growth of 4%, while the e-commerce portion of it inside has grown to 16.6%. That is a clear mark, that's a clear indication that how e-commerce is evolving, you know, and the conversion is quite rapid, right, and massive. Another graph is showing the world population as just an indicative, just to brought your attention to what is the scale we are talking about. 7.67 billion people as of now, currently. About 58% of that population are internet users, meaning they use the internet for any means of their daily basis activities, out of which 24% of that populations are e-shoppers or internet shoppers, right? And then another important part is that we need to know what are the hot trends or the best-selling categories, which is mainly fashion first, and then electronics, then toys, do-it-yourself, furniture, food industry, video game, followed by music, or I would call it broadcasting of any kind of media, and then travel and accommodations. This analysis has been done in year 2019. I would assume that groceries is just rapidly climbing out up this chart as well, because as you know, every country is developing a lot of, same day or instant deliveries of groceries. Then I want to bring your attention to a global best countries in terms of the biggest, sales of e-commerce. The first is China, obviously, and then followed by US, UK, and as you can see, it's been illustrated in the map. The point here is that you might ask why China, US, or UK having the lead. And the key, in my opinion, is that they have invested like massively in order to make platforms of e-commerce. I mean, take Alibaba of China or take Amazon of US. So they made such a platform that everybody can integrate, SMEs as retailers, and all the components which I will show later in my presentation can connect. And that's the key, because the collaboration is indeed a key to a smooth e-commerce supply chain. Then some interesting figures. As you can see, the study is technically in the MESA region, which is Middle East, Africa, and South Asia, while the global CAGR or growth of the e-commerce was almost 16.6%. This region experienced 18.4%, which is above global average, right? However, in this region, 2.8% retail e-commerce penetrated to MESA region versus 14.1% globally for the same period, which indicates that still is a gap of almost 12 to 11% compared to the global level. And that shows clearly the potential for our region to grow to a global level, right? We have 2.7 billion people in this region that I've discussed, which is 36% of the global population, is massive, right? Then we have 16.6 million of e-shoppers and 12% of internet users, which is, as you can see, is falling behind the global average. That is also, again, another potential for our region. And then we have 1.3 billion number of internet users, which shows a great potential of growth for e-commerce or m-commerce or any form of e-trading, right? Then I would like to discuss the enablers or the drive behind the e-commerce. So you might ask, what are the elements, what are the drives, what are the enablers that make e-commerce so interesting nowadays and such a hot trend, right? So there's a lot of technology penetration. Obviously, in order to do e-commerce, you need a good internet connection, right? And interestingly, I would tell you the world average internet penetration is about 59%, while MESA is way above global average. Here I have removed Africa, as you can notice, is Middle East and South Asia. to represent and to show the higher side of the story, right? Social media penetration, we know that today with the use of AI and everything, you're just simply scrolling in your Instagram, checking your daily things, and then you will see ads pop out and guide you through something very smartly, through something that you might search the same day or yesterday. So social media penetration worldwide is 60%, while again in our region is above global. M-commerce, which is technically stands for the mobile commerce, what you can see in your cell phone. The smartphone penetration itself, meaning that how broadly smartphone being used in the region, again indicates that we are above the world average. Okay, so these four elements alone shows and indicates that this region has a huge potential to experience even greater growth, right? And then on top of that, there are three other elements that is helping and pushing e-commerce towards even getting bigger and more interesting. One is that Generation Z, we call them, right? Young generation. I'm sure many of us, we have some children at home, and we experience that the new generation, they do everything with their cell phone, while we still might prefer to go to the physical shop and get the feeling of what we are buying. The new generation are done with that experience, and if it's available, they will try to buy it online. So, and keep in mind that generation is coming to the picture. There would be the decision makers, there would be business owners. So that huge impact that e-commerce will experience would be massive. Another drive behind it is cross-border e-commerce. Technically, the limited product availability and also the reasonability of pricing, depending on the market, make cross-border e-commerce very interesting to happen. So as you can see, and as the statistics prove also, we experienced 21% year-on-year growth on 2020 onwards as the global, while the Gulf region itself has experienced 214%, 10 times more than a global average. And a big chunk of it, I think it was due to the pandemic as well. Then at last, we have government policy and support. Well, one of the key drivers and one of the key enablers of e-commerce, in my opinion, is governments and their involvement. Because I will show in the further slide that this is now, depends on the country and the region, might be a bottleneck or an opportunity. So what happening in Dubai, they took the initiatives long back, like 3-4 years back, and now they have made some city, which they call it Dubai Commerce City, which is specifically made to cater any e-commerce activity, no matter if you're a marketplace, if you're an SME, if you have an individual even that have no idea what you want to sell, you just have to visit this city, everything is prepared, and then you just pay the price and plug and play. Kuwait National Fund also is supporting to technically help and support e-commerce to ease up in Kuwait. In Africa, also International Trade Center is putting a lot of fund into this. Saudi Arabia is doing a lot of ease on the e-commerce policies, rules, and regulation. So overall, I can see in our region at least, there are good initiatives. If you look at any country level, they took either some initiatives or as like Dubai, it's already done, it's completed, and you can enjoy the facilities, which I will brief you moving forward. So now if you want to talk about collaboration in the e-commerce, because I'm a mechanical engineer, I always rather to simulate any system into mechanicals. But if we consider all the elements or components of the e-commerce, as a gear, these are the main components that are involved in an e-commerce event, right? It's an e-commerce purchase. Obviously, depends on the scenarios. This might be shorter or this might be wider. But again, I've tried to put the key elements that are involved. One would be the consumer, right? Me, you, as we go online and we buy something. Second would be any type of marketplace. This could be a very local, small platform selling things online, or it could be Amazon and Alibaba or any of such. Then you would definitely need somebody as a vendor, either retailer, wholesaler, or manufacturers that provide the commodity to the chain, right? And then when we are talking about cross-border, technically international freight and custom clearance also involved, right? And then after that, you need a fulfillment center. You need some kind of a temporary storage assortment to fulfill these commodities. And then at the end, you need a last mile delivery portion of it to get it delivered to the customer to complete the chain, right? So as you can see, if we want to make this faster, easier, and smoother for this mechanism to move, all the gears should relatively move with the same pace, right? So if you moving here around, I don't know, 100 kilometers per hour, and gear number 5 is stopping you, then the whole chain will go to toss, right? So we can see right now there are plenty of development at the consumer end, and also as an e-marketplace. I mean, there are plenty top of the shelves platforms, application that you can buy, and then you can advertise, launch your product literally in half a day and make your own platforms. Vendors and retailers also joining this, either this massive e-commerce marketplace, or they are making their own platform so they can connect. International freight and logistics as a whole also is putting a lot of focus, efforts, and found into, as we speak, is one of the events that is focusing on this, to make it easier, faster, and more reasonable in case of pricing. Here, however, in my personal opinion, custom clearance or any government involvement is something that is a bit difficult, and it's a bottleneck. Depends on the country we are speaking, right? Which I will later on show you what are the initiatives has been done in Dubai and what can be done in that regard. Then fulfillment center, this is obviously, it could be a part of e-commerce marketplace. It could be provided by the vendor itself, but anyway, there are plenty of companies that provide such a service where you can import your goods there and then get it sorted, pick and pack, and make the shipment ready. And again, huge supply of last mile deliveries apart from big international players in all the markets, right? Where you can just have a seat with them, have a meeting, they have established rates, and then you can connect with them through ADI, API, EDI, or any kind of electronic interchange, so you can leverage from their services. Let alone if it's commercially makes sense, you can always set up your own last mile delivery portion as well. Then I have mentioned some very high level notes for supply chain and logistic experts. So when we want to talk about what needs to be done, you know, to collaborate more nicely and neatly, to have a better, smoother, and faster e-commerce chain, I can divide it into two sections: to do's and to not do's, or to avoid, right? So the main thing is, or the key is, to do as much as data integration we can do. You see, in my opinion, and in order to have a very lean logistic chain or logistic process, we need to avoid any kind of duplication, right? So now, technically, in an e-commerce experience on an e-purchase, we are somehow mandating the consumer to put all the data technically, right? So you have to put your personal details, address, you have to choose the item, you have to choose the size, you have to literally select all the key information that is required in order to have something very smooth. And the key is to use and let this information to flow all the way to the last piece that I showed you, right? So again, if we have to integrate, we have to try to integrate all these data, all these stakeholders as much as possible, right? Then definitely, as I've showed you, governments need to look into this very seriously, and we need to look at e-commerce as a standalone. I mean, if you want to try and look at e-commerce as a simple logistics, it doesn't work because there are so many technicalities involved. There are way more stakeholders involved. And on top of that, the expectation. Now we are talking about same-day delivery, instant deliveries. How we can comply with such a huge demand? Yeah, and this is one of the key factors that governments need to focus, and they need to ease up the formalities, as I will showcase in the next slide on Dubai initiatives, what has been done. Then obviously, as a classic example of any logistic process, we need to try and streamlining all the processes of whatever that is happening in the chain, right? From PO management to inbound, outbound, storage, etc., etc. Trusted digital payments is another topic which I think another team will discuss later on. But this is somehow still in some African countries is a bottleneck where people do not have enough trust on the gateways of financial, and they are afraid to put up their personal, information or banking information. So that platform needs to be 100% trustful for people to entertain, to attend, and to enjoy. And obviously, again, as I told you, we need to be quick. Expectations are massive. The competition is very tight, and we are talking about 10 minutes delivery of grocery. So you can imagine every second counts in this chain, right? And then what to avoid? Technically, it would be opposite of what to do, but we need to really avoid isolating any of the trading partners or stakeholders. Nowadays, you can see many companies, they have their own WMS, they have their own ERP, and then small, big, medium, whatever, regardless of size. In order to integrate so many partners in between also, it makes the e-commerce a bit slow and difficult, right? As I've said, complicated custom procedures needs to be avoided because the typical scenarios which you have to provide hundreds of documents and supporting to do a formal custom clearance does not necessarily work with e-commerce. Multiple data entries, yes, we need to avoid touching the keyboard so many times and only add, manipulate, or modify data when we need them, and we do it smartly using automation, right? We need to avoid speaking different languages when it comes to inventory, right? That is another challenge in the e-commerce realm, where the supplier call a specific SKU and a specific name, while the retailers call it something else, and it appears with another code on the e-commerce platform or marketplace. And definitely we need to be sure that we have the inventory level which is safe and trustable across the business. Then this is the third or last part of my presentation, where I've tried to show you what Dubai is doing and did actually to facilitate e-commerce business overall, right? This one in particular is showing and indicating cross-border e-commerce platform where an online buyer is punching the data and placing an order. It goes to either a local marketplace or the purchase is overseas e-commerce. Regardless of that, there are different scenarios, right? This might go to a local e-commerce entity where they process your orders and turn the basic order into final order, right? Or it might come to a company like us, like a 3PL, where we are holding the goods on behalf of a potential customer, right? And then we get it picked, packed, ready to dispatch, or it goes from a local customer directly through the last mile delivery. And then regardless of all these scenarios, it goes to Dubai Trade Platform. This is the governing body which control this. And then obviously out of the automation that has been made and the integration that has been provided, we can leverage a lot of advantages like e-commerce declaration processing, which is totally automated, meaning that me in my warehouse, I'm using my WMS, and then I punch in the outbound order, which we call it pick list, and then turn it to delivery node. That will automatically sit in customs portal, and then eventually and automatically it will be converted to the bill of entry or the customs declaration. So without any hassle and manipulation or double or triple handling the data and avoiding a lot of problems, through this automation, things will get sorted, and as a response, you will get the declaration so you can move your cargo. Same concept is happening with the free zones, which I will further discuss in my next slide. You will get the gate pass or any other such requirement automatically. And then obviously, if you have to refund any deposit that has been put for any of these transactions, I mean, from the financial point of view also, that would be done automatically without the hassle. So if you look at it, technically, this little body here is punching, and then some information is being added here and there, but the rest of the process is being done automatically. So this will massively help to speed up the process, and as I will show you later, it has many great advantages as well. The next thing I want to discuss with you is technically the role of free zones in cross-borders and collaboration within the chain, right? So free zones are ideal for e-commerce due to a big reason that you're allowed to import anything from anywhere almost without paying any duty or any applicable tax. And then based on an outbound scenario, you can plan accordingly. So you can see here, so these are the listed, these are some few free zones available in Dubai, which is Dubai South, Jebel Ali, where I'm located, and Dubai Airport Free Zone, where our headquarters is. So the import comes and sits in any of these free zones, and then different scenarios of outbounds, right? You might want to export it to the rest of the world. Here we call them RAW. You might want to export it to GCC nation, right? Or you may want to clear it and deliver to local UAE. Irrespective of any of these scenarios, using this integration with customs, either through blockchain or through APIs or through even file uploads, you get a lot of leverages and you can easily transact and finish up one cycle of one order, irrespective of number of lines or what is the commodity that you're dealing. Here, which is one of the big, one of the most interesting slides, is that you can see the objectives and how it helps the e-commerce in any criteria. These are the categories, and then I will walk you through each line because this is a very good guideline for many other countries on what could be done in this era, right? So in order to increase the trust, right? So as I told you, right now nothing is automated. So any either individuals, trading entities, or even us as a global forwarders, we are provided with a portal that we have to punch in our information, and for any declaration, we have to punch in, put on the HS code, you know the drill, right? So everything is somehow manual, where on the provided e-commerce platform, as I told you, everything will be automated. So you don't need to put any extra effort, and technically your inbound in your WMS or in your ERP system can be treated as a declaration later on developed by the customs, right? Then how they make it cheaper, as you can see, there are plenty of charges like declaration registration, if you want to amend it, if you want to put up a deposit, if there is any potential fine, if it's a fine on declaration cancellation, returns, etc., which is in some cases is very costly. So just to give you a clear indication, so just to make a custom declaration, it costs around $15 to $20 or even more, which is 100 dirhams. Wherein the e-commerce platform, customs agreed and levied the entire charges, right? So you don't need to pay for that. And then if you need to amend it, which in e-commerce industry is very common, because the consumer might change his mind and then all of a sudden wants to change the product, again, there is no charges, right? If you want to keep any deposit for the clearance, there is not even applicable. There is no fine because everything is integrated. If you want to cancel, amend, bend, do whatever, you feel free to do that. And on the duty and all, this has been increased also. And more interestingly, so if you're talking on an item level, if the item value of the sold e-commerce commodity is anything below 1,000 dirham, here is mentioned 300, but it's technically 1,000 dirham now, which is equal to roughly $300, there is no duty. So technically what has been imported can be handed over or passed to your consumer. That's how you make things cheaper and more reasonable in the market, right? Then how we make it easier, as I told you, for all the claims or do a reverse logistic, it's some kind of a hassle when we talk about the classic, formalities, where in the provided e-commerce platform, this has been all provisioned and beautifully crafted in such a way that there is no hassle, there is no human involvement to such extent, and everything is being automated. So it's way easier to do any of these activities, right? And then in the end, the facility to track and trace, which is one of the most important things when it comes to e-commerce, because everybody wants to know where is the shipment, where you can get that out of this platform as well. So overall, yeah, that is from my side. I think there would be an Q&A that I would be happy to answer if there is any questions. So Pravin, I will hand over to you. Hello?
Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm okay. See if I can just share the presentation again, I guess.
Yes, you have it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we spoke about, I think in the previous speakers also and the past one day, like how the e-commerce, everything will be doing the business from end to end. To enable all this, we need to understand technology plays a key role in all these processes. So what it helps is basically, it helps you to streamline the processes, okay, from start to end, which covers your ordering process, which covers your warehousing process, which covers your fulfillment process, which covers your transportation, as well as which covers also your last mile delivery and the customer responses and feedbacks. So what is required to integrate different systems is the APIs, which are the application programming interfaces. That means each customer, each vendor having their own systems can talk to each other with the help of APIs. So there are standard protocols which help you to interface and integrate two different systems. Technology also helps you in personalizing your shopping experiences, which means when a customer goes on website, wants to look out for some specific products. So what does he do? He probably browses, puts it on search, and then he gets a list of products. And then he goes into the specific website, a store, and then what happens? You have a small chatbot there, okay? So the chatbot or a person who is sitting on that specific chat app tries to understand your requirement, tries to understand what exactly you're looking out for, and then introduces you to his various product line and stuff like that. This also means that there could be some loyalty programs offered by some of the specific customers, specific vendors, and which enables the customer to choose and decide what exactly and how he can shop on the specific marketplaces. There is a wider footprint of customers a specific seller can find by trying to place his specific products on multiple or various different marketplaces. This could be via social media platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook, and the customer footprint could be much way beyond that for a specific vendor who wants to sell the product. As a customer, when I log in onto the website, I would like to have multiple options or multiple product ranges with a multiple option of competitive products. So if I'm searching for a specific laptop when I log in, so what is the first thing I get? Basically, I get 10 different options, 10 different pricing, and 10 different specifications for one laptop which I have time. Now, how do I make sure what exactly I want? So basically, I just go on to one of the website, I select a specific product, and then if I don't find the pricing to be right, I go and check another website for this. So if on a marketplace, this is what a specific customer can have an option to various different pricing, various different specification, and he's able to decide what he would like to purchase. One thing, when a customer logs onto the website or in a marketplace, he would like to be informed of all the specifications, of all the detailing of each and every product. Only then you are basically convincing him to buy a product. When it comes to the specific cross-border e-commerce, it is very important that the customer knows what he can import, what he can buy, and if there are any tariffs or custom charges on that. Now, recently, a couple of things, example I would give, like I was looking out for a specific spare parts in UAE, and I possibly couldn't find this anywhere in the UAE, so then I had to Google search to see where I can find. And in the Google search, what I found is the first thing was UK. So I had gone into the website, checked the specification, and it met my requirement, so I had to straight away place the order. And then I also realized that they didn't have a specific payment type, which I will discuss anyway just below. So I had to do an offline bank transfer to them and then get it. But there was one issue which triggered was the custom part of it, like which I was not notified immediately because I had to pay an extra custom charges on that. So this is very important that the customer knows, and this specification, if they are nicely been coupled on the marketplaces, it's much easier for a customer to then decide whether he can go for this particular product or not. That also covers the border clearance side of it. So there are specific marketplaces which allow you to place an order. Like I had placed something on Amazon, and it was much easier for me to get through the whole chain of different legs. And there was no issues with the customs. I was pretty much informed that what I have to pay and how much time it's going to take. Another important thing is the omni-channel payment gateways, which needs to be available on specific websites, marketplaces. This will help a customer to make a much faster decision, because in the previous speaker said that there were some of the countries who were not having this proper payment gateways. So if we have all the payment gateways covered, like e-wallet cards and credit cards, it's much easier for a customer to make this decision. Track and trace. This is the most important thing. A customer would like to know where his product is. So there are various applications, there are various platforms which help you to track and trace your product. Of course, there is a specific customer feedback and responses which also needs to be part of this. It's much easier for a vendor or a supplier to make decisions collectively when he analyzes the chain of feedbacks and responses. And at the end of the day, technology, when you introduce it the right way, the stakeholders are happy. Behzad, can you go to the next slide?
Yes, I did. It will take a bit of time, I guess.
Okay. So what sort of technology can enable this specific transformation? So some of you may already know that APIs are part of it, like from small to medium to enterprise level. People can build these programs from their application and integrate this with customs, banks, and all that. These are often described as the digital currency of the world. It enables fast and secure transactions between the two systems. One example is the payment gateways integrating the bank and custom clearances. Then you have the blockchain. Now, these are new technologies like the blockchain, the IoTs, and the big data. The blockchain is nothing but a set of transactions which are scattered, decentralized over all the different network. So they are more secured. End of the day, they all enable us to have a smooth efficiency, eliminating redundant data. It also means it enables different entities to come on the same platform and talk to each other. They are much more secured and encrypted. They provide 100% visibility on the transactions. These transactions which are on the blockchain platform cannot be altered, modified, or deleted. They are like the stone. They're stone. That's it. Finished. If the customs introduces this specific technology, it's much easier for them for any goods return, if there are any custom levies, taxes, because there would be smart contracts placed in play on the system for them to actually trigger. Then we have, was that next one?
Yep.
Then we have the IoT, this Internet of Things. Now, most of the people as of today have something or the other at home which enables the internet on specific device, like you have the Alexa, you have the lighting, everything works on this. So this could also be used as a platform, could be a hybrid of mix of blockchain, APIs, and IoT, which can help ease all the same features and facilities from end-to-end transactions. It can help you in the management and tracking production. It can really have your good control on the inventory levels. It could also mean that you can mitigate risk, okay? And the customs revenue department, as I said, will reduce the lead times because most of the products which come through this, possibly the customs, I'm expecting that they would probably having the proper sensors and actuators which will sense all the products going through the scanners. And based on that, if the product sends out the information or signals to the customs, it becomes easier for any fraud detections and all that. This also means that some of the latest devices and gadgets which have come in the market are so advanced that they possibly, if you have something kept in the fridge, like some of the fridge has these IoT devices, like the fridge notifies you, or probably if there is a replenish to be done for milk or any other grocery items, it automatically places an order to the grocery. And then you have last, the big data or the artificial intelligence, we call it. This means it's like everyone leaves a footprint on the internet. So the data is there. So people and the entities can collect this data, okay, and over an exponentially or for a period of time, and the data will be so big. So based on this data, there are proper analytics, there are proper decisions which could be taken. Now this data can be collected from various different sources. It could be from the social media, it could be from any of the companies like Google or Yahoo. There could be forms which are available on the internet. When you go and log in, you want to probably download something, you register yourself. So that data is all collated and accumulated and stored. So at some point, the vendors, the sellers, if they want to sell this product, they possibly has this access to this data. They evaluate, they do the analysis, they understand your buying patterns, and based on this, it's much easier for them to recommend something for you to sell and purchase. There are specific tools which are available on either Azure or on an AWS platform, which can probably give you a proper analysis of the data which is collected using the big data. Yeah, and also it can help the customs to do some fraud detection based on the analytical part which the data has been accumulated. It plays a very important role. But yes, if the government applies a hybrid of all these technologies, it becomes much easier a transition from end to end. That's it from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. If you could remain on stage. Thank you to you both for this very insightful e-logistics. So this is the questions and comments. We'll take 5 minutes for any Q&A you might have. So for the audience members, if you have questions, you can pass it on to our staff members. And for those of you joining us via Zoom, you can type it in and our staff members will put it up on screen for me. So some of the questions that I have right now is that you talked about a lot of e-logistics, and the collaboration is at the heart of e-commerce logistics. Mr. Pravin, could you tell us what is the key driver of e-logistics in the next 3 years, in your opinion?
I would suggest that you have a good system, a good solution pertaining to all these various technologies which I have covered. In terms of optimizing the transportation using the e-logistics, we're making sure that there is a pre-notification of all the issues or maintenance which comes across much before you. So you manage this optimization of the routes, okay, in a faster delivery of a specific last mile delivery or products or interstate or cross-border, this thing, making sure your infrastructure, the country infrastructure is in place for all this. And Yeah, and trying to optimize and make use of any equipments or any resources which are there available for you, trying to optimize and make maximum use of it. So this should probably help us in the next
three to 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. This question goes out to Mr. Behzad, who's joining us now via online. What makes a cross-border trading effective? You talked about government support, which is very important as well, and also infrastructure. Is there anything else that you would like to elaborate in this sector?
Well, mainly, as I showed you, I mean, it's never enough, but private sectors, in order to develop platforms, tools, and means and ways of facilitating e-commerce, they are doing an amazing job. I mean, every day there's a new technology, there's a new concept being introduced. But personally, what I see the focus should be, and we are lagging and falling behind, is technically the customs formalities, and in order to have a much better and smoother transition from a marketplace or from a vendor to end consumer.
Okay.
That is the bottleneck, and that should be under an extreme focus.
So customs then, customs.
Yes.
Anything you would like to elaborate on cryptocurrencies perhaps, or blockchain?
Well, as I've showed you and I've presented, I mean, I'm not an expert when it comes to technology, but it seems that the blockchain is offering a platform that can be trusted. And as an indication, Dubai Customs also is developing the entire platform based on blockchain, yeah? So technically all the stakeholders, all the players from small to medium and big are connecting to that platform, and they talk to each other through that platform. So again, as I mentioned in my presentation, you might ask why Amazon and why Alibaba are the leaders, right? So that's the key, because they made a unified platform where all the players, they can connect, and they can technically contribute in such a nice harmony. Okay, so yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, Mr. Pravin, do you think that there's a particular cryptocurrency that might be of interest in the near future? Maybe Ethereum. Ethereum is working on something.
I'm not sure at the moment.
Okay.
If it's still
there's a lot of things going
on the cryptocurrency as such. But yes, on the blockchain, what happens is not every company is relate themselves to the cryptocurrency as such. So there are payment gateways now. These days, the banks have adapted to that. So there is still a cryptocurrency, but in terms of paying, so they are converted into the local currency, and then that's how the payment has been done.
Okay.
So with the recent fall of the cryptocurrency, probably I'm not sure about this, what's the future as such, but definitely the future is blockchain.
Okay, so using the technology of blockchain
yes.
in e-commerce,
Yes.
but not necessarily cryptocurrencies.
Exactly.
Okay, there we go. And then Mr. Behzad said customs is also extremely important if you're going to do effective cross-border trading. Any questions and comments from our audience members, perhaps? Yes, the gentleman right here raised his hand, please. Put my hand. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm from the logistics 3PL as well, and also the warehouse and silo business association. So interesting that you mentioned about the CF value that in the UAE you have the duty free on around $100 US, if I'm not wrong. Is that correct?
That is 100 dirhams, which is approximately $20. You can say $20, $30. Yeah.
$30. Oh,
yes.
Okay. 300 dirham, right? Okay. So just
that is 100 dirhams.
just personal opinion, maybe just two simple question. I'm just like the simple, the consumer, right? in Thailand it's around 30, not 1,500 baht, right? That duty exempt tax, right? So it's about the same as the UAE. In your opinion, do you think it's justified number that duty free, or you can move up a little bit, or maybe the DITP may
what
answer
I
also?
think, you see, we are talking about, if you're talking about the import leg of the business, it's usually nobody's importing a piece of pen. Technically, how it works is that there would be a retailers, hypothetically, putting a pallet worth of pen. Then when you break that cost into the n number of pen, then it's nothing, it's peanut, right? But when we are talking about clearing out of reason and do the last mile delivery to a local customer, that's where we get the huge advantage of, as I told you, that criteria up to 1,000 dirhams, which is around $300, which I would say, I'm not sure, but it covers a wide range of e-commerce purchase, right? There is no duty and there is no taxes. So technically you can move around your landing cost of that piece and pass the ball to the customer and they can enjoy from that reasonable price. I find it still logical, but this is under their microscope because it used to be 300 dirhams, which is roughly $100. They increase it to $300. Perhaps in future they move it up as they see the growth of e-commerce purchase.
Okay, thank you. $300. Okay.
Yes, now it's $300 limit.
Okay, that's good. So maybe I just pass to the government of Thailand, right? Ministry of Finance or the ITP, whether $50 in Thailand versus $300 in UAE, which is the justified or reasonable value in Thailand. So
Exactly, yeah.
That is not the question, but just for the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Commerce later on. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I think we have time for one last question. This comes from our audience member online. They asked, considering pestle analysis, what do you think is the most important external factor that we should be concerned about regarding cross-border trading? So any of you can answer that if you would like.
External factors is technically right now, I mean, again, this is due to the pandemic mainly, but the biggest cost component, if you look at the cross-border section, it might be the freight, okay, and depends again on the rules and regulation. Duty, as the audience and as well as you might be aware, the freight prices globally increased like drastically, which doesn't make sense anymore, right? So I would say one is the global freight. Then it might be duty or taxes, depends on the country. And then scientifically, if you look at the whole spectrum of an e-commerce purchase, last mile delivery portion is also very heavy on the cost breakdown of each item.
Okay. I hope that answers the question from our audience member online. So thank you to you both for speaking today. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for Mr. Behzad, Goudarzian, Logistics Manager, ISS Global Forwarding Company Limited, and also Mr. Pravin Shetty, Regional Logistics Manager of ISS Global Forwarding Company Limited.